So, good morning, everybody. Today, we are going to learn about river systems and fluvial landforms. Okay, uh, fluvial system or river systems that we can say, the rivers and landforms are created and can be considered at an enormous range of scale. So in a micro scale also we can examine the movement of individual particles and river beds, and in relationship between the such factors such as roughness, or channel flow, or velocity of water, sediment transportation, and so on. In generally, we can also say that the fluvial process creates fluvial landforms. Now, these range from processes operating in a single bend in a river to different channel patterns arising from contrasting conditions of water flow, sediments, transportation, and channel gradient, and also ultimately to the morphology of the entire drainage basin. Okay, so it can also depend on the morphology of the entire drainage basin. So the rivers and the streams can simply be defined as a body of water flowing in an open channel, and they can have three important roles in landscape creation. That is, it erodes channel in which they flow, transportation of the sediments uh, through solution provided by various weathering agents like slope processes, and as well as the other denudational agents of water and ice and wind can associate with it. They produce a wide range of erosional and depositional land features. Now, river systems are primary agents of erosion, including many where surface water is not present for uh, most of the time. So the fluvial system can be conceived be regarded as contrasting of three main elements. That is, a zone of sediment production, a zone of sediment transfer, a zone of sediment deposition. Okay, so the when the categorization of the sources of fluvial landforms is oversimplified, because some erosional, transportation, and deposition occurs in all three zones. So nevertheless, within each zone, one of these three processes are usually dominant. Okay, so in a large basin, the three processes are usually dominant. An upstream zone in which sediment production predominates is usually a in a mountainous region or upland region where erosion is predominated. Then the zone of deposition is generally located along the coastal region or the low lying or a deltatic region. Okay, and deposition zone may however be located at the center of the interior basin also. So a local site of a significant deposition may also occur in a piedmont environment, where river emerges from the mountain front to the plains and inverts the zone. So in which transportation predominates into an output of a sediments may also roughly in a balance. Okay, so when we are talking about this transportation, we also need to understand the catchment area. So catchment area is an area within which water supply by precipitation is transferred into ocean in like as a focus of a internal drainage, such as lakes, or large streams can also be associated. So a number of reasons that the catchment area is fundamental unit of fluvial geomorphology. So the catchment area is usually well defined as clearly separated from each other by drainage divides, which is surface of a near surface flow of water and associated movement of the sediments, and solute the contained or the sediments in the flow. Okay, So the outlet of the catchment area provides a very convenient point at which to monitor this movement of the water sediments and solvents. So there are important exception to these generalizations, such as the partially subsurface flow of water in limestone terrain, which may be unrelated to surface topography but also be valid for a great majority of landscape. So rivers are one of the most dominant agent of landscape change because their flow of water are continuously eroding, transporting and depositing the sediments. So rivers are critically important to people because they provide fresh drinking water, transportation for food, and also it is used and utilized for hydroelectric power generation, irrigation, and also recreational purposes. So river, although is a very important resources, it is also often among the most dangerous because of the flooding which happens. So the floods in among one of the most frequent and widespread natural hazards which is associated with rivers, and it can damage and destroy lands, property, and agricultural fields. So because river systems are so important to anything which is related to human, it is necessary for everybody to understand how rivers affect the landscape, and how man affect the rivers in it is a a relation of a to and fro. We also have some effect on the river system, and similarly rivers also have some effect on the human life. Okay. That is, now when we are talking about the river profiling, when we are talking profiling of rivers, uh, in a channel network can be in a river system are of basically types of networks. That is why it consists of series of link which is connected and at nodes. So these networks can be analyzed with respect to two main sets of properties, that is topological aspects, that is stream network concerned with the inter connections of the systems, whereas the geometric aspects involves the length, area, shape, and relief and orientation parameters of the rivers. Now, the basic element of the stream network is the stream segments, okay, or links. So, this section of stream channel between the two junction, or you can call fingertips, or tributaries between between them, that joins together, that is called stream order. So, stream order expresses the hierarchical relationship between segments. It is a fundamental property of understanding stream network, since it is related to relatively discharge of the channel and segments. Okay, so various streams of orders have been proposed, but there are basically two most frequently used stream orders, that is Stoller and RL slivers or stream order. So in this stream order, that is the segment is formed by joining the two first order segments, and the third order segment by joining the two nodes with the Stoller's order. Okay, so we are going to come with that now. Like let's take it furthermore, like understanding the longitudinal profile of and the watershed. So longitudinal profile of a river is an elevated cross section of the entire watershed, from the source of the flow of water to the mouth of the stream. The source area of the flowing water is defined as the headward waters, and headwaters are the highest elevation where the water collects from a stream network and is a generally formed by either snow melt runoff, or a natural spring, or a rainwater influx. Okay. So, the mouth of the stream is typically defined as the stream's ultimate base level. So, it is generally corresponds to the sea level where the river meets the ocean, all right, or the sea. So, the base level is lowest elevation that a stream can erode its channel. So, local or temporary based level may be formed by the reservoirs or the waterfall. So the river gradient or the slope is steepest near the headwater and gentlest at the near the mouth. Okay, so as river flows from their headwaters to the base level, they curve valley into landscape by eroding, transporting, and depositing weathered rocks, soil, and sediments. So, watershed or basin is the area of land bounded by local elevation ridge, referred to as drainage, divided, where all the waters within the area drainage downstream from its headwater to a single outflow location. So, a watershed can include an entire river stream from its headwater to ultimate base level, or a smaller watershed can encompasses tributaries and sub basin that are part of larger watershed. So drainage divides are high elevation ridge that separates one watershed to another. Okay, just a minute here. So if you see here, here this is a longitudinal profile which is showing here, and this is a various stream orders that we were discussing. Okay, so headwater, that is multiple low order streams which is joining with one another. Okay, so when we are talking about stallers and sewers order line, where Stoller has been applied numerous river streams and has been shown to be statistically related to various numbers of catchment area and morphometry, which is it is a widely used topographic property for stream network in a bifurcation. This is the ratio between the number of stream segment of one order and the number of next higher orders. So this varies slightly between different successive orders in a basin. Okay, so a mean bifurcation ratio of a whole basin is normally used where a lithology is relatively homogeneous. Okay, so the bifurcation ratio is rarely more than 5 or less than the 3. So nevertheless, a value of 10 or more can be attained in a higher elongated basin, which can develop where there are arrows alternate and outcrop of a soft and resistant lithologies. Okay, so the various geometrical properties of stream network are defined, and most important of these, drainage density, reflects a balance between erosive forces and the resistance of the ground surface, and as a consequence, it closely relates to the climate and lithology. So the drainage density range from Lee than less than 5 kilometer square kilometer on a permeable stone region, and to extreme value of more than about 500 square kilometer on a aggravated clay or badland areas. So the role of climate is indicated by the very high drainage density in some semi-arid environment, which appears to result from the prevalence of surface runoff, and relatively easy with which is new channel, and indicates a drainage density is relative to the mouth of a overland flow. So the latter being approximately equal to the equiply of twice the drainage density of the regions. Okay, So when we are talking about this drainage density, the first order, so this is two first order together will give you second order. Then second order, two second order together will give you third order. Then two third order together, joining together will give you fourth order. Then two fourth order together, joining together will give you fifth order. And so on till the order is number 9. Okay, that is the maximum if you go. So the figure, it is in a hypothetical river basin which is shown here in this image, and the black numbers, black dotted line is the representation of drainage divided and number of reference stream order in the area. So any rain fall and waterfall within the this area dotted line eventually flow into a mainstream river. Okay, if you see here. Okay, so this is showing that, like, the all the here the two first order rivers joining giving out to be a second order river, and two second order river joining together giving third order river, and two third order river joining together giving fourth order river, and two fourth order river to fifth, and so on. Okay, so this shows that the increase in the headward water and the reduction of water joining at the uh, mouth of the river basin. Now this is an image of a California, South Californian river and basin. Here it is shown. You can also see it for Ganga rivers also. Like all the water bodies, there is a large number of tributaries which is flowing down from the headwater towards the mainstream. Okay, and then it is joining again with another mainstream here. Okay, so they keep on joining and giving the different order and areas. So morphometric properties of a catchment area. So the drainage density means the length of the stream channel per unit area. Okay. Then you have frequency, the number of stream segments of all orders per unit area. Okay. And the length of the overland flow is mean distance from channel up to maximum valley side slope of a drainage divided. Okay, whereas area property, if you say this is a network property which we were defining. Now, area property, if we want to talk and define about, that is this circularity ratio. This is a total catchment area which is divided by area of circular having same parameter as that of drainage. Then you have elongation ratio. That determines the circle of the same area as the catchment area divided by the maximum length of drainage measure from the mouth. Then you have relief properties, that is basin relief, that is difference in elevation between the highest and the lowest point in the catchment area. Then you have relief ratio, that is in part of relief property. Relief ratio is the basin relief divided by maximum length of the basin. Okay, and the ruggedness of the numbers are based on the basin relief and multiplied by drainage density. Okay, so when we are talking about these catchment relief features of these land features, that the like if all the river and river system, like when we grow when we build a dam and lakes. So dams are control structure in river which stores and release river water from the reservoir according to a specific operating regime. So some dams are run of river structures such as continual areas at the same amount of water entering the reservoir. So, although 70% of the earth is covered with water, only 2.5% of the fresh water. By building dams with reservoirs, people are able to restore the fresh water and use it as it is needed. Okay. So, when we are talking about mountain streams, mountain streams are in a high gradient and low ordered stream source from the springs, has a high gradient, but the order of streams are lower, like 1, 2, and 3. Okay. So this like springs, rainfall, or snow melt joins make small uh, tributaries into the order of the water body. So they often contain V-shaped valley, bedrock, stream bottom, rapids, waterfall, and very narrow floodplains. Okay, where mountain streams from the headwater of a large river basin, and they generally contains the largest sediment size, including the boulders, cobbles, gravels, pebbles, and coarse sand along with it. So mountain stream often contains localized pools, streams, and downstream of a small elevation uh, that drops the pattern of a referred as a steep pool sequences. Okay, so when we are talking about this, just hold on. Yeah. So um see, if you see here, they are small streams and they are making big boulders, rapids, they form rapids. So they are lower order stream which joins together. The breaded rivers, the breaded river pattern occurs on a high energy environment that contains an excessive sediment load that is deposited on the bed of the channel. The stream loss of the capacity to transport the sediments, and it is forced with a way that accumulation of sediments forming in an interwoven network of channels. So it is always this type of feature that you see is mostly in the Piedmont region. Okay, the breaded streams where you the sediments have caused the streams to split and join together in time and again as they start flowing. So the island between the bread channel are ephemeral and dynamic. So they are dynamic in nature because they keep on changing as depending on the stream flow, intensity, and the quantity of water which it is carrying. The sediment continually remobilize and transport and deposit the living mineral minimum time for the vegetation to establish in these areas. So that's why if you see here, there is minimum time left to any vegetation to grow in these areas. That's why they look breaded. So, a breaded channel occurs downstream of an area with high sediment load. So, the sediment texture vary from silt, sand, gravel, depending on the sediment source that it is bringing on. That head were river side that it is bringing on. Now, meandering of a river pattern are lower. It is basically in a lower gradient, that is sinuous channel that contains multiple individual meander bending that are literally meaning that it is crossing the floodplains. So as they migrate or move across the floodplains, they are continuously eroding, transporting, and depositing fluvial sediments in the region. All right. So meandering river and their hydrological conditions create a variety of depositional and erosional landforms, feature which is collective from a floodplain valleys. Now, primary features of meandering channels are in a way of point bars. Then you have uh, uh, levees. And then you have that is these point bars and levees are other meandering bend and eroding cut of a bank along the outside of a bed. So as the channel migrates literally across the floodplains, the sediments are eroded from the outer cut of the bank and deposit on the inner point bar region. Like this is a point bar. Okay, this is a outer bank, this is a point bar, so it is eroding from here and it is depositing at the point bar region. So occasionally meandering channel cut off entire meander bend, and these cut off are uh, cooperated into floodplains or oxbow lake or any filled up channel. So here if you see in this image there's an oxbow lake, so this is meandering. So as this point bar keep depositing, it gets cut off from the main channel. So it is getting cut off from the main channel, and this lake shape is remained here as a oxbow lake. Now in catchment meandering, like here if you see here, then in entrenchment meandering occurs when a river channel cuts down into the floodplain of a bedrock, and channel is trapped with a single course, and it cannot migrate literally and cut the landscape down, down cutting. And the process is often leaving behind a numerous traces of varying width and exposed multiple layers of the rocks. Like it keeps on cutting, so there are multiple layers of rock which is exposed, and this is how it looks like, right? So if you go in Rajasthan, and if you go to Kota region, you will have this meandering of your of Chambal river, where this similar feature is seen. Okay, so it if you see go and visit that, the cutting of the river will expose the various layers of the earth as it keeps on cutting a deep channel into the river bed. Okay, so embarking river pattern contains multiple channels and a wave or a mosaic through the semi permanent fluvial vegetable vegetated islands. Okay, so like this, if you see here. Okay, so this is a river, and where there is a vegetated island happened, and there are channels which is cutting into it. That is in barking. Okay, branching. So the river often cuts and alternates the combination with other rivers from such as meandering, bread, and straight river like features. Okay, so branching river provide added habitat, that is complex, and support a rich biodiversity altogether in these regions. Then we have straits and ranches. So straight river pattern are often the result of reaches that are inscured into the bedrock. The flow of geological structures are engineered by people into more lateral manner. So the straight reaches in a river system can provide important sight into bedrock control for abrupt change in the stream and gradient. Okay, so here if you see there is a meandering. Here if you see there is a more what do you call stabilized baseline here. Okay, now floodplains. Now this is the cut bank. This is point bar, as I've told you. Okay, so this is infiltrated channels, okay, which is coming here and joining in these, and these are oxbow lake which has been separated from the main river beds. Okay. Now, floodplains, let me just cover it. Floodplains and the landforms adjacent to the river plains and the floodplain environment are composed of mosaic of different landforms, feature including cut banks, point bars, natural levees, crevices, channels. Then you have backwash, back swamps, oxbow lakes, and so on and so forth. So, like cut banks, we have explained that cut banks, the outer convex part margin of the meandering bend of the river is called cut banks. Point bar is the inner part of the meandering river is called point bar. Natural levees is when they deposit on the banks of the the deposited landforms that vertically accumulate of a sediment and which prevents flooding to from breaking of the banks. It makes the bank more stable. Oxbow Lake we have discussed, and back swamp is when due to often flooding of the river, the depressed land features will hold back the flooded river water for a period of time, and that is called backwash. Now, Zazu tributaries is a network that enters the floodplains and has a natural living. If you see here, this is a natural levee which is formed by Zazo River. This is, you know, here. This entire upland features is natural levee. Oxbow Lake is beyond it. Okay. Now, then we come to river terraces. River terraces are older remnant of floodplains. That surfaces are higher in elevation than the modern river plains. Okay, so they may occur in one or both side of the river pattern. So these are river terraces where you have cuts in the rivers, and as the river is flowing into deeper and deeper. Okay, it looks like a step. Okay. Now, waterfall occurs when these resistant rock abruptly change into bedrock resistant, and along the features of a fault line and a bedrock. So less resistant materials are weathered and more quickly than the resistant rock. That certain stair step ledges or drop off where waterfall occurs. So less resistant rock may also form pools between resistant rock that forms from waterfall. So the fault, okay, so the fault and the fractures often provides natural pathway of the downslope and movement of the water. So the location of the waterfall origin from the kick point that is continuous weathered by the movement of the water. This is a fluvial fan. Fluvial fan are often shaped in a fluvial deposit that accumulate the base of the stream with flow of deep gradient and enters the lower gradient of the floodplain region. Gullies, okay, now this is a gully. What happens is it's a type of erosion. Now gullies are formed by hill slope erosion and rainwater drainage over surfaces. Okay, so the hill slope generates erosive land overflow and flows that moves. Just hold on. Okay. So when we are talking about this, so gully. Now, gully erosion is basically on these high sloped areas where gullies are formed with hill slope regions, and sorry, just a minute there. Okay. It a hill erosion and rain water runoff draining over surface of a hill slope and generating a erosive land flow. Okay, over land flow that removes weathered rock or soil. When multiple forms, they produce disconnected network of headwater channels, and this discrete the hill slope and increase the soil erosion. Okay, so gully is primary form of a distributed hill slope where forest and vegetation have been cleared off. Okay, so here in this image, if you see, there is a exposed land area, and it has a high slope. So there is a gully erosion that is happening. The forest was cleared from the hill slope, and the corns was planted in these regions and on the bare soil. So the flowing or the first few rain event had taken off the gully like erosion and began to form a result of a soil erosion. The gully only carries water during rainfall event, so it only erodes during rainfall season. Okay, so this is all about the river deposition and river activity. Next we are going to talk about in the next lecture is about our karst topography. Okay, so that will continue with the next lecture session.